Hello, this is Diana Cra again. Thanks for joining me for another video tutorial. And today I thought I'd like to share with you this scene here. It's an Alberta landscape scene. It's fairly easy. We don't need to draw too much and have a lot of fun with different techniques. Okay, so I prepared my workspace. What we need is just 3 different colors. As we all know, the primary colors are red, blue, and yellow, and we can mix any other color from these 3 primary colors. So again, going minimalist is always a good thing, because when we mix colors, then we know that all the mixtures will harmonize with each other later on in the painting. I added some neutral tint paint here and sprayed already some water on, and this is just to give it a little bit more range in our tonal value. Okay, so what do you need for brushes? We can use, depending on the size of the paper, we can use a small tip brush, or we can go bigger with the mop brush. In my artist kit, I have included these brushes here. They have the water tank already in them, and they're super good for traveling when you want to take them in your purse and want to go somewhere and have some time and have a little sketchbook. I love these ones. Okay, for painting at home, I'm using these round brushes. They are silver brushes. They are very soft and super good for watercolor painting. And what else do I have? I have a little piece of paper here where I can try out the mixtures. All my watercolor paints are from professional artist quality brands. I love Winsor Newton and I like Daniel Smith. So just noticing. And then what else do I have here? I have different tools to apply different watercolor techniques. Over time in my videos, I will share with you some other watercolor techniques and tricks. This is a value finder to check out the tonal values, and then Q-tips to make different shapes or to lift a spray bottle with water. Different kind of paints I use. So this is what watercolor gives you. This is salt. So many techniques that create super effects. Okay, let's start with our painting of the day. Here's my hair blower. There is my paper towel. I always have paper towel in my hand. Okay, so I use a colored watercolor pencil to just draw in a little bit of a line to determine where my horizon should be. And this time I like to give my foreground 2/3 of the paper and the top piece 1/3 of the paper. This is where the sky goes, this is where the middle ground is, and this is where the foreground is. I like to do a little greenage here. Just some suggestion, and that is basically already what the basic composition is. Okay, so let's just go with a bit more orientational lines here for us. I usually wouldn't do it for myself, but I do this for you today. And then we can also use a blue watercolor pencil and sketch in a little composition for our sky. All right, that makes it easier. We have a tiny bit of orientation with these lines, and let's get started. I would start with the top, our skies. I use a thick brush I think it is a 12 or so. And then I'm just wetting here the whole top. Make it nice and wet. No lakes, no rivers, I say usually. I'm lifting my paper and making sure that the water soaks in. So it takes a little bit time. I'm sparing out. I leave the foliage dry. And when I lift it, I can see if it's shiny and it's wet, and if it's dull and it's dry. So I'm going over the edges one more time because the edges of the paper, they dry the fastest. Okay, go over it a few times. Give it about 30 seconds to a minute to really soak in, that we have time to paint. So now I'm preparing my watercolor paints. I give them with a spray bottle a little wake me up, and I'm starting to put some blues in. And you can see I'm just dabbing, pointing, dropping some blues in here. And the watercolor, because it's a good quality, just dissolves into the paper, soaks up into the paper. And I'm thinking, I'm creating already a shape. I want to have a bit of movement towards my focal area, which is the greenery. Okay, I'm using fairly strong paint, not so much water in my paint. Watercolor dries 1/3 lighter than when you apply it. So bit of dark. Then more tonal value we can apply, then more dramatic the sky will be. Okay, so this is one technique. It's called wet and wet. And now I'm using my paper towel and I'm just giving these clouds a bit more shape. I'm lifting some clouds out here. Using clean piece. All right, and the rest, the watercolor paper is supposed to do by itself. So this is the beginning, the first layer of our sky. And now we can move on to the front. What I suggest is to already mix some colors because it's going faster before the paper dries. So I'm preparing a bit of orange here, grabbing some red. Oh, see, this is too much red, so I need to clean my brush. Go in the yellow again. Oops, there's still some red left. Clean my brush again. So picking up more yellow. Yeah, now we're getting somewhere with that orange. Picking up more yellow. And then clean my brush always in between because I want to keep my paints fairly clean. Don't want to contaminate with a different color. I like to have the vibrancy of the original paint. Okay. Okay, so we'll have some orange. So now I'm taking a big brush or a sponge or my paper towel, a fresh piece of paper towel, and I'm wetting the front of my painting here. I'm lifting up the painting with my board. That's why I tape it to a board that I can move my piece of paper. And I make sure that the edges are nicely wet, and I give it some time to soak in. See, there's a drop of water in the sky, and I'm just drying this up here. You can correct things with watercolor to a certain extent. Okay, so now I'm using my salt container here to tilt my painting a bit because I want it to run from the top to the bottom and not into my sky. When I put some paints on it, grabbing some yellow, really watery yellow, because this is our lightest part here, and just do a graduated layer of yellow, and I'm getting darker the more I come into the front, grabbing some more intense yellow, and now I'm grabbing some orange and going with my orange to the front. So I painted over the edge here, and I don't want to have any backflow, so I'm cleaning my edge with a dry piece of paper towel. And because we have wetted this area before we put the color in, we can see that it is nicely flowing into each other. I like to have it a bit more red in the front, so I'm going in and do it more intense orange, laying some, and it does not need to be super even. So clean clear water brush now. I'm going in and do a little bit of our movement here, the direction. Remember the lines we have put in. Okay, so now it is fairly wet, and I can lift some paint out if I want to. I'm creating already a bit of texture. Well, let's move in with a smaller brush, clean clear water brush, damp brush, and I'm just lifting some paint out here. I want to have a bit of the impression that it putting in the grains, going bigger the more I come to the front. Bigger, longer strokes. Yeah, and I can go in the back again too, yeah, and have a bit of that paint on my brush now from the front here. And we're having already some texture. This is a bit too much for this height. Okay. Okay, so the paper is still wet. See, I'm blending even more colors with each other. Okay. Picking up some of orange here and then Just putting in some suggestions here, getting smaller and smaller and smaller in the back. All right, so what else we can do is can go in with the yellow again and just put the first long, it's still wet, the paper is still wet, first long strokes, brush strokes of the greens, indicating our foreground. So our foreground will have the most details. And the most details are usually in a bigger size. In the back here, I'm following my system to make things, brush strokes, smaller. Okay, wow, this looks already pretty good. You can see the front, we're having bigger strokes, and then we're going smaller and creating the illusion of depth when we go smaller and lighter in the back and getting darker and bolder in the front. Okay, it is still wet, the paper, and I'm going in with my orange and I'm increasing the illusion of long streaks, long brush strokes for the long grains, and having different colors. And I'm going over my edge here. So perfect. Okay. Now I'm drying everything. And I hope you can see it. This is a little value finder. It's a red Prisma. You can get it in any art store and it's really not expensive. This thing helps me to see the different tonal values, and we'll see if you can see something through this. What you are supposed to see is a good distinction between the foreground, the background, with tonal values. So see, the sky is already dark. You can zoom in into this video and you maybe see it better. And then we have the lighter values here, and then we're getting darker and darker and darker to the front. So this is too even still in the tonal value. If you want to create some more drama and expression in the painting, we need to have more distinct tonal values. And this is a little secret, not so secret. It's a basic art painting rule. More value, more tonal value, more difference in tonal value, more drama. Okay, or expression, or how you want to say it. Okay, so let's keep going. Oh, my brushes are hiding here. I'm not sure. Yeah. So how do you know when it's dry or not? You can lift the board up and look at the painting, and when it's dull, it's usually in a good drying phase. But the safest thing is if you touch it, if it's cool to the touch, then it's still wet. If it's warm to the touch or warmer to the touch, then it's dry. Okay, let's go back to our sky. We need to decide where our main focal area should be, and the main focal area is actually this part here. We want the spectator to go into the painting from down here and meet at the greenery here. We give this the most space, so this is the most important part for us, and it will have the most movement and the most differences in value. So even though maybe the sky is already a bit too much in detail, I still like to paint a bit more of the clouds and show you a little bit of a technique here to indicate more detail in the clouds. So I'm adding with my blue brush, adding blue with my little brush here, and then I'm cleaning my brush and I'm just lifting the inside of this brush stroke, softening it and lifting it with my clean clear water brush, and the cloud appears. Okay, again, let's do this again. So this here, it does not really look like a cloud. I would like to have it more look like a cloud. So I'm going in with my brush here, put some blue in. I'm just indicating the shape of the clouds. Now I'm cleaning my brush. Have it just damp and just soften the inside. Soften the inside here of that cloud. You can even go in the top and lift something out. Okay. Just the inside of my brush stroke, the inside of the cloud, and then we're getting a bit more of a cloud. So adding some blue here to just combining it a bit more. Let's do this again. So here, this cloud, I'm adding some blue. It's my round brush. Okay, and then I'm softening the bottom. So now the top. Just soften this and clean and lift this out a bit. Clean clear water brush. And we have a bit more of a cloud, so I'm lifting even more up. Make this white wider and a bit more of the cloud. And here is another one we can add some more details. And I'm showing you one more time, just adding a bit of a blue here. Soften it out. Clean clear water brush. And soften the inside of that cloud. I'm lifting this up because it goes quicker. See, there's a hard line, and this needs to go. You want to have a soft line. All right, this is a system which is awesome and which I really love, because you can go really nuts with how much or how little detail you want to put in, and carve the clouds out, carve the shadows out. Okay, that's blue, so I'm going just soften it and make it a bit darker here to bring the cloud out. Maybe put even a few more details in. I don't want to put too many details in, simply because the sky should not be our main concern. I'm doing this because I want to show you to get fun effects, how to get fun effects in your clouds. Play with it if you like, and watch the movement you want to create and the direction of the clouds, and then dial up the drama by adding more tonal value and more details, or keep it down. Yeah, it's fantastic how you can really get your clouds and your sky, make it your own. Tell the story of what weather it is. All right, okay. So now we have our foreground really dry, and we can continue the system of making bigger brush strokes in the bottom and bottom part, and then working ourselves up into the top part. So I'm using more yellow. I'm going in with a stronger yellow, mixing my yellow. We're layering basically the background already here. I'm using my brush and I'm just let it flick over my paper. Okay. Don't like even stuff, so I make it uneven. I'm going a bit more in that direction. And putting in little dots in the background, because this is what we see in the background, just dots. The further we go away, the more dots we see. We don't see the streaks anymore, we see just the dots. We can, if this is too light, we can even put a bit more yellow on there. Make it a bit darker. So, yeah, I would say we're good to go. Dots. Dots and streaks. Uneven. Nature is uneven, even so if it is a seeded field. Anyways, okay, so now I'm grabbing some of the neutral tint and mix it in my orange and see if it is dry. And I just put in the tops of my grains. Uneven and bigger in the front and smaller in the back. It's another layer of a different tonal value. Okay, and we can also do some streaks up in the front with another darker color than here. Fairly easy. So I have to hurry a bit here because of time reasons for the video. Usually I would take care a bit more of my streaks and brush strokes, be more precise and intentional. But I have to hurry a little bit here. But the third dimension is coming out. Only already with the size. All right. We can go back and forth. We can give these tops a bit of a shadow by adding lighter yellow on the one side. If you want to be really precise, really more in detail. Makes them always look more natural when we have a couple different colors in there. And as I said, I continue our system, getting smaller in the back, blending the whole thing with each other. Okay, and then I let it dry. And I'm moving on to our greens. So how do we mix greens? We mix greens with blue and yellow, right? So I contaminated my yellow here a bit, so I'm soaking it up and put it in the green. Use a bit bigger brush to soak up here my mess that I made. Okay, so straight yellow, clean, nice clean yellow. There's our green. This is a light green, but I like to add quite a bit of drama to it, so I'm using a bit darker green. This is where our neutral tint comes in to make it just darker. And we can add a bit more blue to it, make it greener. Oh, nice and dark. We need a really nice and dark green to have the yellow pop later on. I think this is nice. Okay, I'm checking. Everything is dry, so I can paint this better when I turn this around. And here our green is coming. So we're using the same blue and the same yellow, and that brings it together. It's a bit too bluish because this is foliage, just some trees in the background that we can see here, and that's okay. We can mix colors in our wells, or we can mix colors right on our paper. So I'll put some straight yellow now in there, and that turns it green. And it brings it forward. Okay, let's have a look and see with what our tonal value says. Tonal value is acceptable, I would say. Just cleaning up the edges here a bit. Okay, so now I'm adding just a little darker shade in here with our dark green, just here and there, and let it flow into our green hills. A darker value, just to make our green hills more interesting. I can edit, and also I can take it out so the light comes from the top. So I'm adding a bit more light here by lifting the top part of our green hills. Makes it just more interesting. You don't have to do this. I like the variation of green tones, like I like the variation of the orange going into the yellow here. And I think when this is dry, I'm going in and do a darker edge on some of these tops here, just make it nicer, more interesting and more detailed in the front. And I'm working this a bit out. But as I said, for time reasons here, I'm not, because it needs to dry. It needs to dry, and then you can go in and add some more. So working it out more in detail. So I would go and play a little bit more around. We have the basic tonal values now. Where's my, see, I hope you can see it through it. You can zoom in. There is the sky, there is the dark hills, and then we have it lighter and lighter and lighter. And here come our difference in tonal value with the dark orange, what we added to the front, so you can see. So overall, I think in drama we have a good painting. It's enough. I want to show you another trick to intensify our painting. We can add a matte to it, and there, voila, there is our painting. I hope you had fun. See you soon again to my next tutorial, and keep the brushes wet. Bye.